Hi, this is Nick Barrow with 3 tips for the rest play at home that you can do to stealthily improve your performance with the rest and give you more chance to pot balls and enjoy the game with the rest. Not everybody does that. A lot of players, in fact me included, when I was learning with the rest, used to have a badge of honour that I'm the worst player in the world with the rest. I'm sure 1 or 2 of you also have had thoughts similar to that. But look, these 3 points are really, really important and things that people always seem to get wrong. So what we're going to do is do 3 quick topics. We're going to look at head position. We're going to look at the grip hand as well, which is massively important. And we're going to give you a very simple exercise to do with the stance and to optimize your stance. You don't actually need a snooker table to do that, just a table. So we'll show you how to do that. First one is head position, and what we want to do is keep the head a consistent position relative to the butt of the cue. I'll show you that from 2 separate camera angles. First one from side on shows that whatever height we are on the cue ball, this would be screw back, this would be topspin, we want to keep the chin and the cue at the same height. Now the way we do that is by lifting and lowering the shoulder by widening or narrowing the left elbow. So that's how you lift and lower. It's very common for players to do this. And what happens is, from this position here, you can see the form of the upper part of the body and the cueing arm is completely different. And any muscle memory you've built up here is lost when we go to this position. And this is a very common reason for players to fail with topspin. First of all, the muscle memory is all different, and also the aiming is very, very different as well from here as opposed to here. So practicing this widening and narrowing of the bridge elbow is really important for rest play consistency. Number 2 is the grip hand, and what are 1 or 2 really important principles for the grip hand. The first one, which is what players tend never to do, is allow the fingers to open. So what I mean by that is keeping the arm and the hand in one line rather than breaking the wrist as we move the cue backwards and forwards. Just see this form remaining the same as I move forward, and you can see from this camera that the fingers open nicely here and they close when I come back. But what remains consistent is effectively the angle of the hand and the arm, as if you have a plaster cast on. If I do that left-handed, this camera could see from a different perspective, so you can see those fingers open and there's no tension in the wrist now. Tension in the wrist is what tends to cause the cue to move offline, and even I've seen some players move the rest head with the cue, such as the force of the tension in their wrist. And what you can see is what some players, what their hand attempts to do is keep a fixed position relative to the butt of the cue. So it likes to keep a fixed angle to the butt of the cue, and we tend to do this and put a little of tension here and do that, and when we follow through there's a lot of tension in order to keep these fingers locked together at all times, and that just introduces a lot of tension. The other thing that we can do is make sure you can see the nameplate in your address position. A lot of players hold the cue here with the rest. What that means is that I'm holding my hand here to avoid the cue dropping onto the table. As we follow through, the cue just falls out of the hand there. But if you can see the nameplate, your fingers can open all the way with a straight elbow. You can have a straight elbow follow through, and you have still complete control of the cue. So if I now look at this camera, look, with these fingers opening forwards and backwards, it's very relaxed, it's very easy, there's no tension, it's very easy to keep the cue online. So while we're using the edge of a table to do this, the rest provides some sort of artificial guide for the cue. Here we don't have a guide. This is an exercise I do with players on the edge of a snooker table. So this is the yellow spot, that's the green spot. Cueing, putting their cue over the side cushion and just seeing, can they keep the cue in a straight line? Is the wrist relaxed? Are the fingers opening and closing nicely? Slow it down if you've got a problem. If there's tension, we'll tend to pull off to one side. And this shows very nicely any tendency to do that. So 2 or 3 minute reps of this when anyone else in the family isn't watching is a good thing to do, and it just keeps this grip position supple and relaxed and in control of the cue. Point 3 then, which is the stance. The most important part of the stance is the direction of the stance relative to line of aim. We assume that you're going to adopt the same stance you normally have without using the rest. So for example, in my case, that's this stance here, that's my regular stance. So we're going to keep this form the same and actually put this at the center of the stance, like a hubcap, the center of a wheel. And we're going to practice rotating the stance. So we're not changing the form of the stance at all, we're just changing the direction of the stance when we're in the rest play position. Why do we do this? Because I want you to, and this is actually a very good way to test your cueing skills in a way you never would normally do in a club, is extend to a straight elbow follow through with those fingers being allowed to open, 2 fingers above the rest, and allow the fingers to open, straight elbow follow through, and cue to chin, backswing. So that forces you to be under control. Most players are way too quick with the rest and then smash themselves in the chin. So this is a good way to touch and hold, stop and hold. And you do 2 or 3 of these in each stance position. And you rotate again. Now I've got a bit of tension in here, not very balanced, bit of soreness here. That feels much better. Now I've got stretch the other way here and I feel like I'm cueing round a corner, and that's absolutely terrible. So for me, that is the optimum stance angle for me to use the rest. Now, by way of reference, if I were to keep this stance fixed and grab the cue in my non-rest position, so over here, which is about, usually with players who do this test, normally they'll discover that for a right-handed player, their normal stance is about 30 degrees off to this side relative to where they'll be aiming with the rest. So without this stance optimization, it doesn't matter what you do with your grip hand or your follow through or cueing advice or YouTube videos, it is going to do no difference. It's going to make no difference to you. So that's the first foundation. And the reason to import our normal stance is just for a feeling of familiarity and consistency. Most pros are doing that, and it's a very good starting point for you. So I hope those three tips helped, and let us know in the comments how you get on with them, and more importantly, when you get back to the club, how many tons you made with the help of your newfound rest play.